400th time. Tuesday Chats, edition 1. Really excited about tonight because we have two of my good friends and a couple that I love a lot, Mace and Jess. Hi guys, how you going?
Best friends.
Best friends, yeah. I'll take that. I'll take that. How you guys going?
Remember that time you came over to our house and you lost to us at Monopoly?
Dude, you cannot be telling them that that's what happened. I cooked everyone on that. Like, I want people to know.
That game gets intense, that Monopoly game.
Oh, dude.
You lost.
No, I have a video still. I still have a video of you firing up at Mace, Jess. You just go after him as well. I can't release it to the public, but you full on just fire up. I'm pretty sure you pulled a dog move, Mace.
Monopoly is my kryptonite. There have been more than 2 team sheds playing a game of Monopoly.
This is what Jess gets annoyed at. Is it going off? It's none or something?
Nah, it's all good. For me.
Oh, this is what Jess gets annoyed at. Jess gets annoyed because I'm really...
Sorry, you go.
Jess gets annoyed because I'm really good at, like, would I say debating? Debating's probably persuading people.
Yeah, convincing people
into deals.
Yeah.
And so she gets fired up at me, and I'm like, it's just a gift that I've been given by God. Can't get angry at me.
You got to play nice. That's my theory.
Oh, 100%. You just kind of like... Yeah, I just thought, here we go. Yeah, I just figured that sometimes you just have to pull a move that kind of hurts someone's feelings, but it's for the best interest of the game.
Yeah,
100%.
Sometimes
if someone doesn't cry,
you're gonna get your feelings hurt, but it's good for me.
You played wrong if there hasn't been a few tantrums.
Oh yeah, flip the table, go off.
Yeah.
But
100%.
I do have a couple of questions for you guys. Thanks for jumping on. We appreciate you giving up your time. Shout out to Summer. So if Jess has to go at any time, their little baby girl Summer, and if you have to run off at any time to help your baby, you're more than welcome to do so.
Appreciate that. She looks like she's fast asleep at the moment, so we should be good.
Perfect. But yeah, tonight is all about, just for the next half an hour, 40 minutes, we're just going to have a chat about dating and relationships. And these guys, obviously, much better than myself, are married. How long have you been married for, actually, Mason?
4 years, almost 5 in October.
Oh, not bad. Okay.
I know, bro. This is why I'm married.
Yeah, it's true. You're good. You remember. You've got it written down, don't you? It's a reminder
I got
of good health. What about how long did you guys date for?
Wow, we started
dating.
Did we
get it? Have we got him here, ladies and gentlemen?
Can you hear us?
We didn't date for very, very long because we wanted to stay saved.
Yeah.
How long did you say?
Anyway,
sorry?
I think we were dating for about 7 months before we got engaged, and then like another 9 before
and then we did married. 9 months engaged, I think, and then yeah.
Okay, so 7 months dating, 9 months engaged, and then 4 and a bit years married. Awesome. There you go. Yeah. Doing much better than myself. So there's someone out there for me, guys. Start praying.
You do all right. You do all right.
Yeah. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. I just got to not shave my head. Apparently that's not helping. So
wait, give us a look at this shave.
It's grown back
quick.
on it.
Oh, that's huge.
That grew so far.
Actually,
my hair's
mate, show the people, bro. Hey, you guys, look at this man. This is one of the best youth pastors that walk the planet, and my man's got a shaved lid. Look at that.
I'm not saying it's the best haircut.
Ashley Bell's right about it.
Looks sick. Do you like it, Jess?
Oh, look, I love Mason.
She's grown to like it.
I won't rate the haircut.
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I love Mason. He looks trash. But that's all right.
He looks...
Listen, I watched our live stream back on Friday. I look fire.
Yeah, dude. You look...
You're on time.
Yeah.
With the shave, that's about the only time.
This is just my chance.
Someone has to compliment me.
Mace watches himself on average 4 times a week. He's just in the office.
I'm 50% of the views.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Same. Same. But I have,
love it.
we opened it up to the public. I know I sent a couple of questions your way, but we opened it up to the public for a few people to write some things in. And yeah, as I said, we're going to just chat about relationships in you know, the Christian world and kind of in youth and church and those sorts of things. And I just wanted to ask you guys, because you carry much more wisdom in that area than I do, and I'm excited. But I will kick it off with the first question. If you were 16 now, if you, like, what's something you would tell yourself when you were 16 that you know it now, but you didn't know it back then? You wish that you knew when you were a teenager. I wish I knew what I know now. What would be the number one thing?
Just don't eat that much KFC. It's not going to bode well when you get older.
That's me, bro. I think I need to receive that.
That's me now.
You mean in terms of relationships, like dating and relationships and stuff?
Yep, dating, girls, guys.
I think for me, I would say, really, like, don't worry about it so much. Like, I think on hindsight and coming through it, and even how me and Jess met and got together, I think God is sovereign, and we need to remember that He's sovereign and He's large and in charge and all that stuff. And so for me, I wouldn't have worried about it so much, and I would have not stressed about it so much, and just been like, you know what, God's got this.
Yeah.
As the Bible says, present your requests to God, pray about them, present them to God, and then don't worry about them. So probably for me, I would have just said, hey, dude, with the whole relationship thing, just chill, because you're going to meet the right one day, and God's got it covered. So that's probably what I would have said to myself.
That's good.
And I think I probably never really expected how good God would be in this department. Like, to be completely honest with you, I was completely blown away when I met Mason with who he is now. Like, our marriage, honestly, it's not perfect, but it does, shut up, it does exceed what my expectations were.
I had a shaved head then too.
Oh, come on. Wait, that's good, bro. I'm getting someone.
I didn't really. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
All good.
But yeah, like, the person like that, like Mace, he's so much better than I could have expected. So, whoa! Sorry, almost smashed that phone screen.
No worries.
So God has a good plan. I mean, if you trust Him, I didn't realize if once I gave it over to Him, He had a really good plan and He knew it was best. And also simply that it's so worth the wait. Like, I wish I knew when I was younger, the right person is actually worth waiting for.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, waiting and not worrying so much. Shout out to that awesome advice. I'm with you, Reese. I see some people out there actually grab a pen and paper. That's a great idea. You should write these down. You can never, if you take notes, you know, like all the preachers, if you take notes, you're going to go to heaven. But, like, seriously.
I use that like every week at youth.
Yeah.
If it's a bit dry and I need a laugh before the sermon, and I know my story's not going to cut it, I just say that.
Yeah.
Take notes. Research shows that 90% of people who take notes go to heaven.
Although I reckon people...
It gets a chuckle.
Every time.
Some people
we get them. Unfortunately,
and then some kids, those kids who are like barely saved, they like grab their notebooks out real fast. Shoot, I want to go to heaven.
Bro, I don't know where I'm going if I get hit by a car on the way out. Yeah, 100%. They grab their notepad. But
they're gonna get to heaven's gates in front of Jesus and just be like, here's my notes.
Yeah. I waited, God, I waited. But yeah, that's awesome. And so yeah, grab your notepad and your pen out and jump on. Yeah, cheers. When I shaved my head, the girls seemed to stay away. Hey, me too, bro. Me too. So I feel you. It's fine. You'll be okay. We'll get through this together. But I do have one question here. I'm just going to address this early. The people who thought it would be funny to write in, why is Dave single? Well, I shaved my head. That's probably pretty why or how? I don't know, guys. I don't know how I'm still single either. I wonder as well. That's fine. But thanks.
Listen, I'm actually dead shocked that you're still single. You're still single. I'm dead shocked. You're the most eligible YD.
That's
in
right.
the movement.
Oh, that's what it is, dude. It's because I'm not a youth pastor yet. I'm just a director. But I'll be
Yeah, look, because you're a youth director, girls are still like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Is he gonna make it? Is he gonna make it to the pastor status? I'm not sure.
You can't hashtag pastor wants a wife yet, so it's letting you down.
Yeah, that's
you really
so
need to
true.
get on the hashtag.
I'll talk to Charlie about that. Maybe we should get him on and tell him, give me my LMC, bro.
Listen, it's not because you couldn't be in a relationship. You just refuse to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's my choice. I'm a strong, independent.
You've told me multiple times that girls have slid into the DM and you just you basically just kept them moving through the tunnel.
Yeah, bro. Just keep them going. Keep them going.
Another girl slid in.
Yeah, far out. It's a hard life being chased. Maybe I just love the thrill of chase. No, but this is the second question. Someone wrote this in as well, which it's actually a really good question. And kick it off in a more serious vein. But this person wrote, what are some tips for making sure I honor God with my partner and with my actions? So relationships that are God honoring or put God first.
I think you got to, I think for me and Jess, we've always tried to put God first in our relationship. And even by thinking that, I think it's like, if you're thinking about that, like you're probably honoring and putting God first. Like even the thought, even to have a think, like to ask that question and being concerned about that, you're probably on the right track. I think for us, even just recently, we've tried to pray together a lot more. And just to keep God in that center of our relationship. Yeah. So even at meal times, we've been like, hey, how about we pray before?
And like really pray.
And like really actually pray, not to say thank you, Jesus, but actually pray together before meal times to try and get that in. But I think also like relationships are funny because in terms of the Bible, because the Bible says a lot about it, but then a lot of the questions that we have, sometimes the Bible doesn't clearly answer. Yeah. But the Bible is really clear on some things. So I think sticking to what the Bible says when it comes to relationships, what it does say, I think that's the number one way you can honor God in your relationships, is sticking to what the Bible does say when the Bible does say things about relationships. I think, but to be honest, I think if you're asking that question, you're on the right track.
Yeah.
It's praying, it's spending time with God apart together. It's about being complete in your relationship with Him first before you try and even get in a relationship with other people and all that kind of stuff, and putting the emphasis on your relationship with God before your relationship with other people, I think is important.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And
awesome.
I guess boundaries and that sort of thing help to protect that and help you to have a relationship. It's specifically, I guess, when you're dating or when you're engaged, that does help you to try and have a relationship that is honoring to God and does worship God and does obey the things that He has commanded specifically for us to adhere to in a relationship. But just as a side note, I think I had one of the biggest revelations for me personally was a little while ago when I came to the realization that every one of, and this is just a preface sort of thing that applies to relationships, every one of God's, I guess, commands or rules or things that He advises for us to do or not do in life, including those things in relationship, not one of them is simply so that God can suck the fun out of our life or so that it can be boring. You know, so often people think, I'm missing out because, you know, for example, I can't have sex before marriage or I can't do this. And God's just this hard, like, rule maker that kind of life's a little bit less fun but a bit more holy when you do things that way. That's not the case at all. The fact is God gives those commands simply because He loves us so deeply with an everlasting love, and He wants us to experience the best in life. So those rules or whatever He says, it's literally so that we can be the most happy and the most joyful that we can be. And both Mason and I, though we're not perfect at all in any which way, when we have adhered to those rules and those things, we've just found that it's been an absolute blessing and it's a joyful thing. And I think that's just something that helped frame my mindset when thinking about how do I honor and respect God in my relationship. It's actually going to bless you far more than it probably even blesses God in reality.
And so on that, like, I know you kind of touched on it a bit, Jess. We've had obviously a couple of other questions about the dreaded boundaries that people always want to know about. But someone wrote in, like, what are the common mistakes that young people make? And I know personally, like, that my answer would be they don't set boundaries either at the right time or at all. And so, like you kind of touched on it, what are some boundaries that either you set or people should set, especially young people, when they're either entering a relationship or in a relationship? And I think the other thing that's probably good to note before we even get into it, like, it's never too late to kind of bring in boundaries. Like, we've already done this, we've already done that, all that sort of stuff. Like, we shouldn't worry because we've already done that. It's not how it works. Like, you can put boundaries in place at any time and it's still going to be a good thing. But what are some that, like, you guys kind of used or that you think are good?
Yeah, well, I guess first of all, it helps to figure out what you want in a relationship and what you desire. So both Mason and I are very clear from the output that being, I guess, followers of Jesus and wanting to obey those very specific commands that he has, for example, not having sex before we had committed to each other in a marital relationship. We said that's something that we don't want to do until if we get married. And so knowing what you want and then working out your boundaries are essentially things that are going to help assist your goals. So if you want, like, going to assist your relationship goals, essentially. And so for us, we just put in some things that we knew were practical that would help achieve the goal. And so that was like, I think not hanging out past 9 or 10 at night alone when I would come to visit in Canberra. If we were hanging out with someone else, the three of us, and one person was leaving at that time and I'd go with them, or vice versa or whatever. And that was challenging. Like, when you're dating, you kind of want to keep hanging out or whatever. Yeah, that was hard. There was more than once where either of us was like, oh, this sucks kind of thing. But so much better in the long run. But
I think that's why it's important. Like, it is never too late to put boundaries in place. But if you are going to get into a relationship, the best time to put the boundaries in is at the very start of your relationship, and putting them in. And I would even say putting them in with someone that you trust. So with a youth leader or a youth pastor, someone who can hold you accountable, because you're only as accountable as you kind of want to be with each other. And if you both push the boundary, then it's like, well, we both push the boundary, so who cares? Nobody knows. But if you push the boundary, but you know that you have a meeting with, or your friend is going to ask you about it or whatever, and you've got to be honest, I think that extra accountability really, really helps. So I would say when you put boundaries in place, exactly what Jess is saying, you got to know what you want. Even some people, different emotional boundaries, stuff like that is important to talk about. And to talk about, hey, this is what I want. This is how we want to honor God in our relationship, and then putting boundaries in with someone to help you, hold you accountable to achieve those boundaries. Because we can say there's nothing better than dating someone, getting engaged, and then standing at your wedding day saying, like, we did everything that we could and we did our absolute best to honor God with our whole relationship that we had. And to walk and to just have that experience on your wedding day is actually honestly and incredible. And you realize, hey, this is why God,
he knows what
this is actually why God says to do what he says to do.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. I had another, I mean, practically with that, like, I know a couple of guys that I'm friends with that are married now, and when they were like engaged or dating, when they would hang out with like their partner, they would have their best friend call them at 9 p.m. on the dot and tell them that they had to go home. And he was like, a couple of times it was just like the worst timing ever, like worst thing ever, just didn't want to go, worst. But he was like, in truth, like, that was one of the most important, like, and best things that he did to kind of, like he said, protect what's holy.
100%.
Really?
You need that person who you give them access to, you give them access to that, and you give them the access to speak into your life. You give them the ability to be able to interrupt and say, hey, I don't think that's right. And if you're still at her house, you need to go home now. And I'm going to ask you about what you did, why you're at her house so late.
You're not going to be, the two of you liking each other are not going to be, you might have those boundaries, but very easy. You may think before you get into a relationship, it'll be easy. Getting into a relationship, those boundaries
it ain't easy.
It's not easy. So having someone who can think clearly, who's not in the heat of the moment with you, is definitely helpful.
When you got the shaved head, mate, it ain't easy, bro.
Listen,
easy.
I shaved my head after we got engaged. I shaved my head, and Jess with her workmate.
He's lucky he asked before.
Yeah, like said, if he looked like that, we wouldn't have
I'm
said
calling
yes.
it off.
I was only
Shut it
kidding.
down. Shout out to all the youth pastors who are out there making awkward as calls now. Just like calling people up, making the most awkward, just ruining people's moments. So shout out to all the youth pastors and youth leaders doing that.
Let's go.
Okay, and what someone wrote up, what are practical steps that you can take in a relationship to avoid traps and miscommunication? I think miscommunication is probably a big one, especially with young people. Like when, you feel like someone's either trying to play hard to get or doing this or doing that, and those sort of things, like miscommunication.
Then you
kind
just
of talk a
become the
little bit
simp.
about. Huh?
Then you just become the simp.
Yeah, yeah.
I learned that word the other day.
Yeah.
Wait, what's the question again? I got distracted by my simp comment.
Yeah. What are practical steps that you can take in a relationship to avoid traps or miscommunication, especially?
Well, I think communication's the key. You got to communicate with each other, and like if you want to avoid traps, if by traps you're talking about temptation and falling into temptation and stuff like that, you got to set boundaries and have accountability. And then miscommunication. I mean, me and Jess only miscommunicate maybe 3 times a day.
Minimum.
But minimum.
That's
But
great.
I think communication honestly is the biggest key to relationships. You gotta keep communicating, keep talking about it, and being honest. Because sometimes you don't want to be honest out of fear of whatever. But you've got to be honest 100% of the time when you're communicating.
Yeah.
And it's like if a guy is doing nice things for you and you're not into him, just tell him he's a simp and tell him to move on.
Tell him to kick
Make
off.
it pretty clear.
Yeah. Actually, I will say that if you're a guy or a girl and someone has expressed interest in you, I definitely know for me, I would much rather, if you don't like me back, I would much rather you communicate that early on.
100%.
I'd much rather.
You know what I say to all of our. You know what I say to all of our guys? I say to them, if they come to me and say, "Hey, I really like this girl," my first question is, "Have you asked her out for coffee?" Because like, there's nothing worse than that dude, bro, who fantasizes about a girl for 3 months and it's like, "Oh man, I love her." It's like, why don't you just ask her out for coffee or something, and then give her the ability. And listen, the girls roast me about it because they're like, "No, don't get him to ask." And I'm like, listen, if he asks, then all you got to say is, "Listen, I'm flattered and thank you so much, but I'm actually not into you. I'm never going to be into you." Because then a guy would be like, "Okay, cool, I'll move on with my life."
Yeah,
but otherwise you get this thing where this girl's trying to avoid him for so long, and then the guy is literally just being a loser, fantasizing about it for 3 months and not doing anything with his life. It's like, why don't you might as well just ask them. And then girls just like,
better for both people.
Yeah, girls should just be like, "Look, I'm flattered, but I'm not into it."
Yeah.
Or, surprise, surprise, they might be like, "Oh, actually, I would love to go out for a coffee with you."
Meet you at Old Green Bean. Let's go. Give me a shout
Edwards, bro. We go to Edwards.
Oh, sorry, Edwards, close to the walking
Edwards,
distance to youth. You can
Providore.
go, come back, get to youth in time. Yeah. And if you're if you're a girl and the dude's just real naive, ask him because he'll probably just say yes because he's probably into you, just doesn't know how to say it.
Yeah. If there's a guy you're like, "I think he's into me," just ask. He's just an idiot. He's
just oblivious, bro. He's just a dude.
He's a boy.
But this is a good one, which I said, someone wrote, "If I am confused about a relationship, does this mean it's not from God?"
Ooh.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
But
I think it really depends on what you're confused about. Like, that question could have different contexts. I mean, who are we to say whether your relationship's from God or not? I think we can't.
100%.
I don't think we
wouldn't
really
make that call.
Yeah, we can't say that. But I know all I can speak from is personal experience. And I know, obviously, you grow up in life, everyone likes people, whatever. But I know that when I met Mace, for me personally, now this may not be the case for everyone who ends up happily married, and it's great, but for me, when we were dating, there was no confusion for me. I was pretty... This gone. No, but I was
only
pretty
confusing now.
I wasn't confused about a few main things, and I think they're the most important things. I wasn't confused about his love for God. I was convinced of that. I wasn't confused about whether he would honor and respect me. I was convinced of that. I wasn't confused about whether my family would like him. I was pretty convinced of that. I think for me there were some main crucial things. I was probably a bit confused about his choice in AFL team and a few things like that. I was confused about his shaving my head. But I mean, the crux of the most important things I wasn't confused about, and I wasn't confused about my feelings for him. I knew that they were legitimate, they were real. So that was enough for me. So that's personal experience. I guess it's going to be personal, and if you are confused about a relationship that you're in, I think it would be best to talk more about the details of that with someone you know and trust, such as a leader in your church or something, who would understand your situation a little bit better.
Yeah, someone who knows you too, and someone you trust would be, if you genuinely have that question, that's who I'd be asking, someone who knows the kind of the ins and outs of what's going on in your relationship.
Yeah, the person, Tomo, who just asked, is it bad to be unsure about your relationship? That's basically this, like, kind of what we just answered. But I mean, yeah, like you said, Jess, there's kind of some key things that are pretty much, you know, the pillars of what you'd want to know about someone, to whether or not you're going to be unsure. Like you said, like, I mean, I think about it like this. If she don't love Jesus, then it's a no-go. That's an automatic. Yeah. Like, if I'm unsure about whether she loves God, unsure about whether she loves church and those sorts of things, if I'm unsure if she's even a good person, it's just an automatic no. And those sort of, like,
those main things.
Pretty clear sort of stuff.
I think the other thing that I would say too is that there's danger in pursuing a relationship that isn't right, and continuing with that, but there's no danger with saying, hey, let's put this on hold, or even not pursuing it and waiting for a time when maybe you are a little bit sure. Like, there's not going to be any risk to that per se. If they are the right person and they do want to spend the rest of their life with you or whatever, I believe that if you give that situation over to God, it'll work out in the end. If you were to, I guess, you know, put the brakes on a little bit. But if you did run hard with something that wasn't right, that's more dangerous than waiting. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah. Better to not jump into something that's going to hurt you than to wait and see. Yeah.
Better to be safe than sorry in a way.
Oh, here's one that I love to answer, because I feel like it kind of rocks a few people's boats. But here's one for you, Mace. Can girls and guys be best friends?
Listen, I mean, define best friend.
Like here's what I think about it. Like, a girl and a guy hang out one-on-one, and one of them at least fully thinks that it's just platonic and we're just hanging out as mates.
You become the simp.
How I answer the question.
Someone's a simp in that relationship of your best friends, right?
It's the dude.
It's always the dude.
It's the dude, bro. He's got a band, he's got an ear piercing. He's a loser.
Listen, I think, like, I had good friends who were girls when I was growing up. Jess had good friends who were guys growing up. But I think you're right in that. Like, if you are good friends with them, you'd want to make sure that you're communicating and make sure that one person doesn't think that it's something more than it's not, because that just gets awkward. And if you are really good friends with a girl, or you are really good friends with a guy, someone of the opposite sex, I would still put boundaries in, because you never know. Like, you never know. You might have this epiphany one night where you're hanging out playing board games or something, and then it's like late at night and you're like, oh my God, like, I just realized that I've been best friends with you and I kind of find you attractive. And what better than, I'm actually in love with you. That's how it happens in all the movies. So,
all the movies.
Look, I think there's absolutely no issue, obviously, being friends with other people and being good friends with other people even. I just think that Yeah, 100%. Like if you're calling each other best friends, I more lean towards your thing and saying that like one person's got the wrong idea about this relationship and thinks it's flirting potentially. Like for me, like I used to never hang out with girls one-on-one unless I really liked them. So I just don't or just didn't. Because I wanted, like, particularly when I met Jess, and when people found out that I went out for lunch with her by ourselves, people were like, "Oh my God, you like her," and she knew instantly. Yeah, she knew instantly that she was special because I don't do that with girls, and everyone in my circle around me knew that this girl was special because Mason doesn't do that. Mason just doesn't hang out with girls, and it's not that I didn't have good friends who were girls, but I just wouldn't do the one-on-one thing with them because I didn't want them to get the wrong idea. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, okay. There you go, guys. Take notes. You people in the comments are blowing up about this one, bro. I'm telling you, people get fired up. But be clear, communicate, make sure that he or she doesn't have the wrong idea. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Ooh, what about Jess? This is a tough one, but I will throw it at you anyway. What age is a good age to start dating? I will say this, in your opinion. Because obviously everyone thinks, like lots of leaders think different things. What's in your opinion of it?
Can I hit you with something first, though?
Yep, go.
Before Jess answers?
Yeah.
I think, yes, it is an opinion thing. But here's what's not an opinion thing. In Ephesians, God has commanded kids and people who have parents, so your kid, like as you're a teenager and kids, has commanded you to honor and respect your parents. Like you have to honor and respect your parents. So number one, really, it doesn't matter so much our opinion more than it matters your parents' opinion. And so if your parents are telling you, if you're a God-fearing, believing young person, and your parents are telling you, I do not want you to get in a relationship with you 18, 16, whatever, then you better bet that it is a command that God has said you have to honor and respect what your parents are saying, and you'll live a long life. That's the promise. But that actually is Bible. Yeah. So we have an opinion on this, and we have a standard that we set personally for our youth ministry. Yeah. Obviously, there's exceptions, but there's no standard on respecting and obeying your parents. Yeah. So if your parents are like, I don't want you to have a relationship till you're a bit older, then guess what? You better, if you're a God-fearing, believing Christian, you better respect and honor them.
Yeah. Rev Youth, that's officially made it onto the board of things that we're doing out here. The Rev Youth guys, I want other leaders to write that down put it in your crew right now, wherever you are. That's what we're doing out here. Respect your parents. I like that.
You got to.
Sorry.
Anyway, we do have an answer with that. Anyway, go.
That's fine.
Well, for me personally, my parents had a bit of an expectation or advice, and their advice to me was, we think it's wise if you wait till you're 18 to date. And to be honest, when I was 14 and I heard that, I was like, when you're 14, 18 is so far away. I thought it was crazy. Now, they weren't stance on that. It was, if you like someone, come talk to us, work it out, whatever. But and I honestly thought they were crazy. But on the other side of it now, I think my parents are some of the most wisest people in the world, and through that they helped save me a lot of heartache and a lot of stuff and whatever. So my personal opinion is what Mace alluded to as well, is what we talk about with our youth, which is JJC.
JJC, baby.
In the comments,
it's been hitting the comments. People have been hitting it hard for the JJC.
Come on.
We basically had to come up with this, we had to come up with a standard.
I'm just getting caught up. What is JJC?
We'll elaborate, but basically the JJC is, we had to come up with a standard for our youth ministry because the Bible's not heaps clear on it. Do you know what I mean? And we have to be careful about our opinions and what the Bible says, and not taking. Anyway, so we had to come up with a standard for our youth ministry, and so we personally came up with the JJC, which is
essentially three things. When you're deciding whether to date someone, it's, do they essentially meet this criteria? And they stand for J. The first J stands for Jesus,
which is non-negotiable, by the way.
100%.
Oh,
Jesus.
Absolutely.
And it's Jesus. Your own relationship with Jesus has to be solid, and their relationship with Jesus has to be solid.
First and foremost.
So that's the first tip. Before you think about dating at all, Jesus, your relationship with Jesus and their relationship with Jesus. If that's a tick, you passed the first JJC test.
You've got to be, so many people get into a relationship thinking that it will complete them, but the reality and the truth is that the only thing that will complete you, what we're made for, is relationship with Jesus first and foremost. So I think we're made for a relationship with Jesus, and if you're not in, our belief is if you're not in relationship with Jesus, you're going to be trying to find that, like, what you're made for with another person, which is never going to live up to the relationship that you can have with Jesus. So number one, relationship with Jesus. Number two, now these two are can be a little bit hairy, but we think it's the best, really. Number two is job. So
a job.
Does this person have a job?
Don't be talking to me. Don't be talking to me about asking. Don't be talking to me about asking some chick out if you don't even have a job, bro. Please believe we're not talking to you.
Hey.
If you do not have a job, we're not talking to you.
Imagine that, bro. You're sitting there, you're at the cafe having a good time. Oh, by the way, can you pay for me? Because I actually don't have a job. Oh, bro. Drop him. Leave
and I'm old school
straight
too.
away.
I'm old school too. I think the guy should pay 100%.
Oh,
yeah.
So if you don't have a job, like, honestly, the one thing about job is, though, seriously, if you can hold a job, it shows a level of maturity.
Yeah.
And so I think to hold a job shows a level of maturity that you probably, like, could probably hold a relationship, essentially. But also, like, you need money to date.
Yeah.
Oh, dating ain't cheap.
Girls are so expensive,
listen,
dude.
That'll preach. Dating is free, but it ain't cheap.
Yeah. Come on.
Dating is free, but it ain't cheap. It's the same as the cross. Hey, salvation is free, but it won't be cheap.
Drop that.
It costs him everything.
You don't want to be going to the movies with your girlfriend with the money you got from your grandma. Like, you got to support that yourself.
Come on. That's great.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And the last one, C, is car. Do you have a license? Can you drive?
Which brings us to our age, which we subtly sneak in with the JJC. We don't actually
explicit.
So we don't actually tell kids, oh, you need to be 18. But with the JJC, if they're smart, they work out, hey, these guys are actually saying you should be 18.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, like, if you've got a license, right, you can actually properly take it for a guy. 100%. You can actually properly take a girl out on a date. Yeah. Like, there's like, what are you going to do? Be like, hey, I really want to go out on a date. Yeah, cool.
Want to skateboard up to
my mum will pick you up at 7. What a loser, bro.
Oh, mate.
My mum will pick, or worse, bro, even worse. You have to go with her dad.
That's not.
Her dad chaperones you on the date, bro. That's not good. And so for us, and but really the car is also how we sneak in.
That's happened to me. It's not fun.
Not fun. That's why, bro, you need to listen to the JJC.
Great.
So yeah, we brought in that, and I mean, obviously Cars gives how old we think you should be, but Jesus job car is our standard. Obviously there's exceptions. Like, we've had kids who have come to us and said, listen, we like each other. We've told our parents are okay with it. We want to start dating. Can we do this the right way? And they haven't had a car. They've both maybe had Jesus and a job, but they haven't had a car because they haven't been 18. Yeah. And do you know what? I'm actually okay because they're honoring their parents. Yeah. And they're coming to us because they want accountability. They want to do it the right way. So in that regard, I'm thinking, but the standard, our standard, and all the Vibe guys know, is JJC. That's the standard that we lay down.
It's so worth it in the long run.
Mitch Cook, I'll give you the short version. I didn't abide by the JJC, and I was at Nando's in Bendigo. We went out for lunch, and her dad came and picked. We lived in the same suburb. Her dad came and picked us both up, and I can tell you this right now, Mitchell Cook, wherever you are, I'm telling you this right now. You need to listen to Mace, because that was the worst car ride of my entire life, homie. I'm telling you right now that was one of the top 3 worst things that ever happened to me in my dating life. And I mean, because I didn't follow the JJC,
questions, bro?
Go.
Did he ask you any questions?
Dad? But you know that he knows that he's got you in the palm of his hand when he's asking if they ask you real basic questions.
Bro, he had you by the time he picked you up,
they know
bro.
You're rattled. The moment that he's like, oh, so how was lunch? what that means is I'll end you, boy. That's what that means, really.
Very loaded question.
But,
oh, bro, I can't wait till summer goes on their first date, man.
oh, bro, end him.
Oh, I mean, I can wait for it, but I can't wait just to be like you scare the living daylights out of him. You know what I
mean? Oh, yeah. So Mitchell, I'm telling you, bro, JJC. Otherwise, you're gonna have an awkward Nando's date and then an awkward ride home, and it's not worth it, bro.
And then it's all over.
Nando's in
Tell them how that one turned out, bro. How'd that one turn out when you didn't follow JJC?
I'm single. Follow the JJC. Follow the JJC. And I had a quarter life crisis and shaved my head. So look at where I'm at.
He's tried everything.
It's so much sweeter though, hey, like as a girl being picked up, like Mace walked to the front door, knocked on the door. We like, oh, stop. Anyway, it's so much sweeter. I know from my experience. You want that.
That's big because dudes, if you're a dude, right, you should not text her here and have her come.
Oh,
what, bro? Don't be a loser. Go to the door.
That was what made Mace different.
Knock on the door, and if her dad answers, you run. But other than that, no, seriously. But go to the door. Go to the door, bro. That will change. That changes the game.
Ladies, listen up. If a guy's like coming to pick you up and he texts you like, "Hey, bro, here."
Out front, bro.
Round the corner.
Just tell him.
Out front.
Just tell him. Listen, I gave you the wrong address.
Sorry, I'm busy.
Send him on a goose chase, yeah.
Oh, so funny.
Send him to someone you don't like's house.
Yeah, just say, hold on, my dad wants to check you out for a sec.
Yeah. Here we go. A couple more. Give us some quick, what are the keys? What are something that you see in someone else's relationship, and so that you know that it's healthy? Keys to a healthy relationship. For like, when I look at you and Jess, I mean, I see a healthy relationship, and I see a lot of the things that we've talked about. Give us maybe 2 or 3 clear things just quickly that you would see in a healthy relationship.
Communication, love, and respect.
Respect, yeah.
Respect is a big one.
Yeah, huge.
Respecting each other, love, respect, communication. I don't know if there's and actually no. Do you know what? Laughing and having fun.
Yeah.
Because it's a long life, and so you got to learn how to laugh and have fun. But respect is probably a big one that we've learned even being married. Like, you could do little things and the other person could say, "I didn't feel respected at all," and it actually hits pretty deep. Yeah, So I would say love and respect is a really big one. You have to respect the person, and even if they do something dumb, still having that love and respect for them to walk through them with their dumb decisions sometimes.
Yeah,
it's great. And then if you walk with them through their dumb decisions, then they'll walk with you through your dumb decisions.
100%. You're one flesh. Her dumb decisions are mine now, and mine are hers.
So true, bro. Shaved head. That's on you, Jess. Is it okay? This is one, a bit of a deeper one too. As we come to sort of the back end of this, is it okay to date someone who is a non-Christian when you are a Christian? I guess we kind of just touched on it a little bit, but there's a lot of times when the old, what do we say before, Mace? The old flirt to convert. People are keen on that sort of thing. What do you reckon about that?
I think, again, the Bible does have Paul writes about this, about being unevenly yoked, and in Corinthians, in 1 Corinthians, I think. And he writes 1 and 2 Corinthians because he's correcting stuff that's going on that shouldn't be going on, that's improper for God's people. And he writes in there, don't be unevenly yoked to unbelievers. And what he's talking about is being yoked is a term that they used to use for like ox who would plow ground. And if they were if one ox was too tall or stronger than the other one, it would actually go around in a circle and not do what it's designed to do and the purpose of it. So Paul is basically saying, don't do it. So if you want to know what the Bible says on the Bible actually says, don't be unevenly yoked to unbelievers, which means don't date or marry an unbeliever. And so, I mean, our lives are submitted to Christ, bro. We believe what the Bible says. And so on that, I know there's a heap of different things. And we know people who are I guess, who are believers and married to a non-believer, and it's so hard. And so basically Paul in that, and what we would believe is marry someone who is as in love with God as you are, believes kind of the same things about God as you do, so that you can run the race that God has put out in front of you together. Otherwise, you're going to probably be running around in circles. That's what Paul says. So, yeah, we tend to agree with the Bible, Dave. And we say...
What if someone just wrote, what if they're willing to become a believer for you? Ooh.
Listen.
Well, to be honest, in that case, they're doing something. They're becoming a believer for you. So you're their number one savior, in that circumstance. It's, you know, when you give your life to Christ, he becomes your number one. So I would question, are they giving their life to God, no questions asked, not about anybody else, or are they doing something in order to impress you? And then maybe it's not legitimate. I don't know. I would hope that a person is simply, I would wait and see, give them a little while. Are they actually committed to God? Let them work that out. Let them go on that journey with God. Let them be in a relationship with him, and then approach the question of, okay, now are we going to be in a relationship too? I wouldn't put that one hand in hand, me personally.
I mean, absolutely. You know what? I mean, like you said, Mace, we got you guys on here because you've spoken all this wisdom. But turns out people really should just be reading their word, huh? People should just get it, guys. If you want to know, hey, how do I have a good relationship? Read the Bible, yo. Like, this is not a tricky thing. Read the Bible. You get some help.
Better get reading.
Get reading, Davo. That's your issue.
That is, mate. Yeah, I should read the Bible, huh?
No, I think I think you're so right. The Bible is actually our manual for life. And there's no other manual on the planet that we just throw out and disregard. Like, God created us and he wrote a manual for us in his word. And so, like, if we had a chainsaw, I heard someone say once, if you had a chainsaw, you wouldn't just throw out the manual on the chainsaw, because it would be dumb, because you'd cut your friggin' arm off or something stupid like that. And so basically, like, when people say, oh, I don't care what the Bible says, like, who cares? If God's written that, who cares what God says? I'm just going to do it the way that I think. You're probably going to get hurt. That's the reality.
Yeah, it's great.
It's to prevent us being hurt.
Yeah.
Someone wrote in a question just then, but there's actually one very similar to that that is in here. How would you ask somebody or tell somebody that you have feelings for them or that you like them? Like, what's a way to go about it in the right way?
You hit him in the DM, YOLO, hi.
Slide in the
Listen.
DM. What
Listen. Yeah, you slide into those DMs, bro.
Just say, hey, let's go.
You Google pickup lines and you start with...
Yeah, my favorite. Hey, did you fart? Because you are blowing me away.
Oh, that works.
You got to, bro. Slide into a D. Nah.
No.
In all honesty, don't be weird. I would say, I mean, I know it's different, but just don't be weird. But I would just be honest and open up the conversation. Be prepared to be completely rejected. But just know that your confidence is found in God. That's why you need Jesus first.
Yeah.
Your confidence is found in God.
Everything else is secondary.
But 100%, I would ask them. I would ask them out for coffee. I would tell them how you feel. Don't go weird and creepy on them. But just ask them out for coffee and see what they say. And if they honestly say, like, no, look, it's never going to happen, like, move on. If they say
thankful that they told you so you could move on as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
If they're a bit like, oh, look, no, not now, whatever, like, I think, like, maybe just wait a bit, pursue them a little bit more, chase them a bit, you know, get that hunter out for a boy a little bit.
And I'd advise, like,
don't get your friends
short and sweet is good, and you don't have to put all your feelings out on the table all at once. Like a simple, hey, would you like to go out for coffee? I'd like to get to know you a little bit more. That's sufficient. You don't need to be like, you're the girl of my dreams, Rapunzel with your hair so long, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, that's just going to be one bang in the light.
You were on stage and God just, the light came on you, and I thought,
gone down on you.
That is the one.
Shooting yourself in the foot.
You started singing and you're a little bit off key, but I thought that is my girl.
Listen, can I? That's a funny joke. But can we be dead serious and say that if anyone says to you that God told me we were supposed to be together, run the opposite direction.
Punch him first, then go.
It says flee from the devil.
I mean, I've heard some people that's happened.
Resist the devil. Sorry, do I read the Bible? Resist the devil, and he'll flee from you.
Surely.
Yeah, there's probably something.
Yeah.
Run, bro. The opposite way. No, but I mean, don't be weird about it. I think we can be so weird sometimes as Christians, like, like it's just coffee. You're not committing to a relationship. You're not boyfriend and girlfriend. You're not nothing. You really like them. So you're gonna say, hey, do you want to go out on a coffee date, or do you want to go out for coffee with me sometimes? And then just I don't know. See if you actually do get along. See if you can hold an interesting conversation. See if you get each other. If you laugh. If you enjoy hanging out with them. All that kind of stuff. Because I mean, it's all good if they're good looking, which is what we're probably attracted to first and foremost. Yeah. First of all, is that hey, this person's really good looking. But you got to know if they're interesting, if you can hold a good conversation with them, if you enjoy their company, all that kind of stuff. So
great, awesome. Well, there's a couple more, just maybe two more. We'll finish up. But my man's Reese, he wants to know, fellow single man. I know, I feel you, bro. Should you talk to a mentor / leader before you ask someone out?
I would. I did actually.
You don't have to. Like, it's not Bible, but it's a very good idea. Why not go for the best? Yeah.
I think because I wanted people who knew me. I actually asked 3 people about Jess, my pastor, Charles, and I think it was Cody, my youth pastor, your brother-in-law.
Yeah.
And just talked to them about her before, after we went on our first date, I think, and said, hey, look, I actually really like this girl. Because I think they knew me most of the time and they knew what I was going through, and they were going to be honest with me once they met Jess. And they were going to be honest with me, like with me where I'm at. Like, they could have easily said to me, hey, bro, I don't think you're in a good place to date. And even if I didn't agree, you've got to learn to respect those voices in your, those voices that you allow speak into your life.
Absolutely.
Not just go against them. So yeah, 100%. I think we both would definitely ask.
And I
don't know if I did, but I think I spoke to a few people. But I think it's definitely a wise thing to do,
Yeah, and you need to ask someone too that's going to be okay with telling you the thing you don't want to hear. Like, I would much rather someone tell me, hey, bro, I don't think you're ready, rather than me jump into a relationship and get my heart broken.
That's
like,
so true.
That's going to save me so much, you know, those sorts of things. Like, sometimes, Mace, I reckon I would ask you, even, I felt like I knew the answer and I'd ask you anyway, just to be sure. Like, you know, so.
Yeah, but can I say that's a great quality to have. So and good, it's something that I do admire about you, bro, is that you ask a lot of questions and you're not afraid to ask those questions.
Too. Yeah.
And that shows huge humility, I think, on your part. And I think if anyone can learn from that, like 100% ask questions.
Yeah, you're never at a point where you can't value someone else's wisdom or those who've gone before you. I think you never get to that point where that's not helpful. So it is good. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's great. Dave has shut me down so many times. I have not, Reese. You know I haven't. But awesome. Well, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. That's all I've kind of we've got as far as questions are concerned. Thanks so much for jumping on with us, guys. Really appreciate it. I know heaps of people will have gotten something out of it, and I recorded it, so I'm going to chuck it up as well so people can view afterwards. Thanks so much for jumping on and for sharing your wisdom and insight, and, you know, as two people that we respect and love a lot. And awesome. Thank you so much for being a part of tonight. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
No worries,
thanks, Davo.
Awesome. Love, shout out, Vibe fam, and Mason Jess. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for joining in tonight. We'll see you all around.
See you, everyone.
See you, man.
Bye.
Bye.